Five Nights at Freddy's 2 comes out today. You better believe I need to sell out. Five Nights at Freddy's, the indie darling made by Scott Cawthon. I'm not going to explain this game to you. You know what Five Nights at Freddy's is. It's one of the most viral games of all time. It was the single game that probably put indie horror on the map, and it revitalized indie gaming as a scene. It turned Scott Cawthon, who had always been a hard-working but often overlooked developer, into one of the single breakout stars of the indie dev scene. Five Nights at Freddy's is a media empire. It has movies, books, video games, coloring books, sticker books, toys, Funko Pops, plushies, and all I'm wanting to do today is make a Five Nights video. But I want to do it in my own way, do it as a Cybertronian ranking. And when I was trying to figure out what group of Transformers I would like to see in the setting of Five Nights at Freddy's 1, I fell on the Armada Decepticons. Now keep in mind, I love the Armada Decepticons. These are still some of my favorite characters in Transformers. But I have to admit, the reason I chose them is because these are the most Team Rocket-ass Decepticons to ever exist. These guys are all varying levels of dumb and belligerent. And I think that their different but still big personalities could lead to different explosive results if you trap them in the pizzeria alongside Freddy, Chica, Bonnie, Golden Freddy, and of course Foxy. Here's the game plan for today. We're going to take every Armada Decepticon and we are going to put them in an in-scale version of the pizzeria. Just assume that Freddy Fazbear has had a branch on Cybertron. That also means that the animatronics are going to be equal height to, say, Demolishor. Not as big as Megatron, but as big as an average Transformer. I know that seems odd, but look, I don't want Demolishor to just be able to step on the animatronics. This makes sense to me. Just assume that everyone is big, because Fazbear Entertainment is just that evil and just that omnipotent that they somehow have intergalactic branches. Why do you think Freddy in Space is a thing? Maybe they do have alien restaurants. I'm only going to be using Five Nights at Freddy's 1. That means it's going to be the layout of the pizzeria that we saw in that game. It also means that there's only going to be 5 animatronics at play. So, no puppet, no wizards, no toys, no phantoms. It's just the original bunch, with an exception that we'll get to later on. And I do want to point this out too. The Decepticons do have guns and swords, but when you watch Armada, you realize a lot of those weapons are just for show. It seems like the only people who actually could hurt their fellow Cybertronians are Starscream and Megatron. So I don't think the fact that they have weapons is going to be that much of a difference maker. Here's what you have to remember about these Decepticons. Most of them are extremely dumb, and almost all of them are cowards in some way, shape, or form. Think how Batman is able to take out 20 armed goons just by using their paranoia against them. I have no doubt that the animatronics could do something very similar, especially because the animatronics always know where the player is, whereas the player does not know where the animatronics are necessarily. If the Decepticons were to leave the cameras, they would have no way to track their enemies, whereas Golden Freddy could have the animatronics surround them and eventually overpower them. The way you win is simple. You gotta make it to Night 5. We're not bothering with a custom night in this scenario. But I don't think any of these characters can make it all 5 nights. I might be surprised, but we can get straight into it with Cyclonus. Cyclonus is a great example of what I'm talking about. He is arrogant, brash, bloodthirsty, dumb, and easy to manipulate. I do want to point out some of the things that Cyclonus could have going for him. He can fly. That said, he needs to have a high enough roof to be able to transform. He has optics that can see heat signatures, which means that he could turn on thermal vision without having to actually put anything on. Except when he claims to do that, he's not able to notice humans because he's not very observant. And if the animatronics were to stay still, they don't have body temperatures anymore, so Cyclonus couldn't see them that way either. And then finally, there's his guns. But there's never been a time where him shooting someone has actually hurt them. It seems like, at best, he might be able to stun an animatronic. And finally, we get to the single thing that's most damning about Cyclonus. his belligerent nature. As soon as he was to see an animatronic, he would probably try to run out to fight it. I don't think Cyclonus is making it past night 1. He would run out into the hallway to try to confront Bonnie, and then Bonnie would throw hands. And no one throws hands better than Bonnie. Now, you might listen to that breakdown I just gave and wonder, Ron Bondajon, how are you so certain that that's how it would go down for Cyclonus? It's because there's a Transformers Armada episode that puts the 4 main Decepticons in this exact scenario. In the episode Swoop, and they run into every single booby trap that the Autobots set. It's also a great way to gauge just how reactionary the Decepticons would be, especially when they're under stress. We already did one of the first 4 Decepticons, let's do another one in Demolishor. Now, Demolishor, in theory, is the second most powerful Decepticon of the original 4. The issue is that he's a coward, and also a complete idiot. Even though he has those big guns on his shoulders, he actually has to transform partially to use them. And Starscream even calls him out for not understanding how to use his guns well. I think that if Demolishor were to start getting scared, he'd forget that he had weapons on him. He would just try to run away. And that's why I also think he's not making it past night 1. I think he'd forget to try to close the door. Bonnie would just walk into the office, jump scare him, and boom, no more Demolishor. Now, I really should go straight on to Starscream and Megatron, but I don't want to do all 4 of the main Decepticons right here. So why don't we look at some of the later additions to the team, like Thrust. Now, on paper, Thrust should do better. He is a strategist. He's supposed to be the smartest of all the Decepticons. He gave them good plans. Except his good plans only really lasted his debut episode. Thrust is nowhere near as smart as he thinks he is. He believes that he's a great manipulator, but really he's just lucky, or even being used as a pawn of better manipulators like Sideways and Megatron. Thrust is not all that powerful, and Thrust is also very easy to undermine. He has a hard time multitasking, and I hate to say it, if you can't multitask, you probably shouldn't have sent in that application to Freddy's. Here's what I think would happen. Thrust would just keep looking at the stage. He would keep looking at Bonnie, Chica, and Freddy. And thus, he doesn't actually look at Foxy ever. Now, Foxy can come out on night 1. It is incredibly rare, and you almost have to be trying to make it happen. But again, I don't think that Thrust is going to switch cameras around. He's going to assume that as long as he keeps that one camera stared directly at the 3 animatronics and he never looks away, that they will stay there. I think Foxy would run into the office and get him before we even get to night 2. Earlier in the video, I said I don't think a Decepticon could make it all 5 nights. And yet, here I am having to eat my words, cause Wheeljack is very solid. Wheeljack, for anyone who doesn't know, is a fallen Autobot. He had been best friends with Hotshot before being abandoned on a mission. Left to rot, he was taken in by the Decepticons. And even though he can be driven by revenge, that's not his primary goal. His goal, more so, is just to prove that he was good enough, that he was worthy of being an Autobot. And it's worth noting that he was the first of the Decepticons to convince Megatron to make peace with the Autobots when Unicron showed up. Throughout all of his appearances, Wheeljack is highly competent, a great fighter, and able to multitask. He has seen the realities of war. He knows how bad it can get. He's faced his own death multiple times, as well as the heartbreak of being left to die by his best friend. He knows how to keep himself going. And with Wheeljack done, we're basically halfway through. There's not that large an active roster of Decepticons in Armada. That said, there are the toy line exclusive characters: Predacon, Terrorsaur, Airazor, Thundercracker, and Skywarp. It's not going to be as in-depth an analysis as the show characters, but just looking at their toy bios, I'm going to tell you how I feel they would fare in a standard game of FNAF. Predacon is actually horrifying. He is a cult leader, a serial killer, and someone who kidnaps younger Autobots to force them into being organic creations. He dreams of a world in which technology and organic matter are merged horrifically into one being. And I think that he would be obsessed with Remnant. Now, to be fair, Remnant was not made in the first game. Remnant is a thing from years later in the franchise. But if Predacon got the sensation, the idea that somehow organic life and physical matter were able to turn into a whole new energy source, he would do anything to harvest that. Because of that, I don't think Predacon could step foot in the pizzeria. I said earlier there'd be one exception to the only FNAF 1 characters, and that's because I think the puppet would stop Predacon from even entering the building. Now, the puppet is not in FNAF 1, but Puppet would be around, and the puppet does protect the other haunted children. As a result, I think the puppet would know that Predacon is perhaps closer to William Afton than any of the other Decepticons on offer, and would essentially get him before he could hurt the animatronics any further. Terrorsaur is a bit more interesting. For one thing, he is a loudmouth, and he is someone who will constantly boast and brag, but he's also very competent. He is an amazing soldier, a legendary warrior even. That said, he can become very short-sighted. Tunnel vision is an active threat to Terrorsaur. And on night 3, the single bot that is best at weaponizing your single-mindedness against you is Freddy. I think the Terrorsaur would try to chase around Bonnie and Chica and not notice Freddy in the shadows until it was too late. Armada Airazor is really interesting, so I'm taking from both the toy bio and Aspector Prime. But Airazor is a Decepticon spy. She is cold, she's calculating, and she stays silent, but she's such a good soldier and so professional that many Autobots are willing to still engage with her. The problem is that she's actually stealing away minicons. That professional air she puts on is to essentially make minicons feel safe around her, make it feel as though she'll take care of them, just so that she could nab them and get them back to the Decepticons. That's essentially the strategy that William Afton used when he donned the Spring Bonnie costume. And the single animatronic that is most on the lookout for Purple Guy is Cassie. I think that Golden Freddy would show up in the office as soon as Airazor stepped in and take Airazor out. Now we get to the only toy line exclusive character that technically appeared in the show, that being Thundercracker. And I'm not basing this on Starscream, no, I'm basing it off his personality in the toy bio. And in the toy bio, it says that Thundercracker has crushingly low self-esteem. He does anything he can to prove himself, to prove that he's worthy of Decepticons, and hopes that he gets Megatron's attention. I think that he actually would do pretty well the first couple of nights, but he's going to start to get a bit full of himself by night 3. And again, when you start to get full of yourself, you stop paying attention, and you're not going to notice Freddy in the shadows. Finally, we get to Skywarp. Skywarp's bio says that he is a prankster, and even though he's very powerful, he needs direct instruction, or else he will not know what to do. Even in active conflict, he does not know where to pay attention. What I'm thinking is he's going to put all of his attention on the left door, trying to stop Bonnie and Foxy. That means he's not going to notice Chica coming in the right door on night 2 and taking him down. Since we just talked about the two Seekers, let's get back to the show characters and start with Starscream. Starscream is an honorable warrior. Out of all the Decepticons, he's arguably the most competent, and he's easily the one with the most sympathy behind him. I think in another world, the animatronics might even be able to reach out to Starscream. The issue is that Starscream also has a need to prove himself, especially if he's been challenged, and he's going to take Phone Guy's warnings about the animatronics as a chance to show that he is better than someone else. I think he would do incredibly well with Bonnie and Chica. It's just a matter of when does Foxy run. Because if Foxy starts running to Starscream, Starscream's honor will take over. He's going to be more than okay slamming the door shut on Bonnie and Chica because Bonnie and Chica actively tried to hide from him. They do not try to confront him head on. Whereas that shot of Foxy running towards him is going to make Starscream want to engage. He sees Foxy as someone honorably challenging him. And I'm not saying that I think Foxy could take Starscream down by himself, but he is very fast, and that hook will do some damage. All it takes is Bonnie or Chica sneaking up behind the Secret Commander to ensure that Starscream isn't making it out of here. Tidal Wave. Tidal Wave is really, really interesting to me, mostly because he's basically a child. He needs Megatron to order him around, otherwise he just kind of stands there. A part of me even wonders, would the animatronics notice him? They might honestly just assume he's a statue. That said, if they do start talking to Tidal Wave, or if Tidal Wave does move around, he is incredibly childlike. I know this might sound like I'm trying to infantize him, but I kind of think that if Tidal Wave walked into the main dining room, he would see the funny animals on the stage and just sit down crisscross applesauce in front of them. I'm sorry, Tidal Wave is just a very childish character. He doesn't have that much capacity to understand things like, oh, these animatronics might be trying to hurt you. So as a result, I kind of feel like the animatronics would treat Tidal Wave the way they treated Abby in the movie. I've invoked his name enough throughout this video. It's time we finally get to the Emperor of Destruction, Megatron. And even though he has an incredibly dumb bunch of lackeys, you should know that this Megatron is one of the best at manipulating throughout the entire series. He is a lone wolf, he has no empathy for anyone else, and he refuses to be denied. He would just need to learn the ropes of this place, and then he would be able to react accordingly. In the episode that I keep invoking, Swoop, Megatron was the only one to make it to the headquarters, the only one to outmaneuver and outsmart the Autobots, and he would have won had Hotshot not been able to get the Starsaber. And the only reason why they got the Starsaber is because Megatron's arrogance got into the way. He let himself get sucker punched by Optimus, dropped the sword, and then Hotshot grabbed it. But even then, Megatron's immense power almost won him the day still. If we were to have Megatron running around the pizzeria, he would tear the animatronics apart. Freddy, Foxy, Bonnie, Chica, they would all be smoldering wrecks when it was done. But the last time someone took apart the animatronics, that didn't mean they were gone. I believe the spirits would then surround Megatron, and goaded on by Golden Freddy, they would now tear him apart, and Megatron would have no way to defend himself. He'd be forced to slowly be torn into pieces, all by the children that he himself tried to crush but hours before. Very similar to Springtrap and his death, Megatron's undoing is going to be the fact that he tried to destroy the animatronics outright, never realizing that it was the spirits inside that were chasing him, not just dumb animatronic animals. And that's it. Listen guys, this was definitely one of my weirder videos, but thank you for humoring me. I'm sorry, I've wanted to do this video for like 2 years now. The issue was I could never really settle on what group of Transformers I wanted to put in. It did eventually make sense though. You gotta do the Armada Decepticons because they're at about the right level. No offense to my Armada boys, but if I were to put in like, say, even the G1 Decepticons, they're just a bit too militaristic. I needed a group of Decepticons that could conceivably be overcome just through sheer fear and intimidation tactics, and the Armadacons were perfect for that. Oh, what's this? I forgot about one, Sideways! Yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know, Sideways, a herald of Unicron, is a universal singularity. He actually appears in every single continuity, but it's always the same guy. Moreover, Sideways is a reality warper. Even if you tear him apart, shoot him, blow him up, he's always going to be able to put himself back together. And even if you destroy his physical form down to the very last atom, his soul will live on, and it will be able to take on another physical form down the line. Oh no. Sideways is a reality warper. And I know what happens when two reality warpers meet in this franchise.